So what we're gonna do, girls, we're gonna build two networks, two LANs connected through a router. We will not make it straightforward, and we will try sometimes to modify ports or. First of all, I'll take one LAN. I'll take this switch, which is 2960, and take 3 BCs with it. This is straightforward, very simple. And let us call this LAN business LAN. And the address of this LAN 192.168.10.0. The subnet mask for all LANs in this topology is the same. So this is our business LAN. So let us see the addresses here. This will be 192.168.10.10. And this is going to be 192.168.10.11. And this is going to be 192.168.10.12. For the switch, we will give the VLAN 1 address 192.168.10.254. The cabling is straightforward. All of them needs to be cabled with just straight. I'll start from 1. There is nothing here special. And I need to configure the IP addresses now on the BCs. So I go here. Okay. So far, I did not configure anything said or called default gateway. This is going to be 11. Yes or no? Tamam. And for this PC, I'm going to just give it 12. Nothing about default gateway is mentioned. Next, we have a router. And this router, I still am not decided which router to use, because when you pick a router, you need to know how many ports are there in the router. For example, this is a router here. And let's a router. Let's see it, for example, any router. Okay, here, look at the router, for example. This router has some ports. 2 are serial ports. Do you see them, for example? Right? What about these things? What does it mean when you see slots that are empty? That you can still add what? Add more ports. صح ولا لا? And this router has a console port. And this is fast Ethernet or gigabit Ethernet 01 and gigabit Ethernet 00. These USBs are not data so far. So this router is expandable. We can add more ports to it. صح ولا لا, right? And we have 2 interfaces here, gigabit Ethernet. If we need more LAN interfaces, we need to put more, because this is auxiliary and this is console, not data. So now I'll just go here and try to find what router. A good idea we do sometimes here, we ask the user to take an empty router. You know what's empty router? This router, look at the zoom in. Do you see any port in it? So this is only console and auxiliary, no data. You can add your own ports. Does that make sense? Let me show you another example here. If I take 4311, 4311, zoom in. Do you see it? It's expandable, but on the left side, you see the types of ports that are usable. Yani you can only use what? These types of ports. I'll delete 4311. I'll keep which router? Empty router. And now I'll go here and try to add some ports. First of all, you need to do what? Switch it off, right? Okay. What is CE? Copper Ethernet. What is CFE? Copper Fast Ethernet. What is CGE? Copper Gigabit Ethernet. FFE, Fiber Fast Ethernet. FGE, Fiber Gigabit Ethernet. And we have serial ports. And this is just a cover. Cover means what? Like this. Do you get this, Yabanan? So if you want one copper fast Ethernet or gigabit Ethernet, just take it. So how many ports you added? Of course, you will know here what is the details. Copper gigabit Ethernet. Now, how many ports I added? 2. I'll start this again and go back. If you go to the router here like this, port status, it will tell you how many ports you have in it. What are their names? 00 and what? Gigabit Ethernet. تمام. It's very important to know the names. Let me show you one more thing here. If I go to the device here and I'll zoom in, I'll switch it off. I want to remove these ports. اللي مستغربين, we did this first week, huh? تمام. If I take them, cover Gigabit Ethernet here, I added the same types of ports, yes or no? But what is not the same? The slot, the place where I posted. Look, ya banat, here. How you see this now? Look at the router. What are their names? So do you understand that the slot has a role in deciding what's the port name? Does that make sense? Of course, if you want to put different types of ports, that's fine. Just go ahead here, zoom in, switch it off. If you want fast fiber, you know this is fiber. And now 2 fiber here, like fast gigabit fiber. I want 1 serial, for example. Now I'll turn it on. And here, if you go now, look at them. If you want a quick review, just go to port status. What do you see now? Gigabit Ethernet, and that's it. Do you see serial 00, ya banat? Why the name of serial 00? Because where I placed it, in which slot? In slot what? If I take it out and bring something else here now, it will be serial 50 or serial 40. Is this clear now? Okay, now is this clear, hopefully? So now I added some ports here. Sorry, I need a different thing here. Okay, does that make sense? See, serial what? 50. Good. Now I need to connect my network. I need to plan carefully now. I'll remove everything here. So I just gave you this introduction to show you when we do this later, we don't stop and explain these things. Now what I know, I only need copper Gigabit Ethernet 4. They told me we only need 4 copper Gigabit Ethernet. Okay, that's it. Now I need to connect my LAN to the router. You must know to which port you connected the LAN to. For example, here, I'll take Gigabit Ethernet. It's better to select the fastest or the highest bandwidth of the switch. Now, which one of the router? 00, yes or no? So now I just need to make a note here that my network is connected to which port of the router? GIs. Because if I need to configure the gateway of this network, which port I need to configure? 00. Now let me just tell you, as I told you before, we need to give this port what IP address? 192.168.10.1, yes or no? Tamam. Now I'll go and try to configure the switch first. And this is going to help us refresh our memory by configuring the switch. So let's see here, enable conft. I'll start from enable secret class, line console 0, password Cisco, login, line VTY 015, password Cisco, login, exit, service, password, encryption, host name, business, SW, for example. Now I need to configure the VLAN 1, interface VLAN 1. IP address, look at the IP address, 192.168.10.254, 255, 255, 255.0, no shut. I think I configured everything I want, and copy run start to save changes. Does that make sense, Yabana? So I configured the switch. Now I'll go to the router. I need to configure only one thing so far. Where is it? The port IP address. And I need to open the port, which is the default gateway. So I'll go to CLI. When it's a router, ya banat, and they ask you about this, yes, no, what you do? No. Yalla, enable conft. I'll call it main router, host name what? Main router. Does that make sense? Which port I need to configure, ya banat? GI what? GI 00. Interface GI 00. Does that make sense? What's the IP address? IP address what? 192.168.10.1, 255, 255, 0. No shut. There is no difference between configuring ports, physical or what? Virtual. Now I am done with all the configurations of what? Of what? Which LAN? Business LAN. Now, there is only one problem. The devices in the business LAN, do they know their default gateway? Can they communicate with any network outside this range? If no one tells them about the default gateway, they cannot go outside the LAN. So I'll go to this one. What's the default gateway for all the devices now? Every device here, what is the default gateway? It's the IP address of the port, which is the default gateway. Default gateway يعني باب, door. If you don't know the address of the door, you don't know how to go outside. بس خلاص. There is no further simplification. Now I gave the same default gateway. So for LAN 1 now, here, LAN 1, 3 devices, they should work. Huh? I'll go to BC 10. I'll try to ping 11, 192.168.10.11. Did it work? Yes. I tried to ping the default gateway. Did it work? Of course, there was an ARB work and router and MAC address tables and all these things was done. Tamam. So now we are done with network 1, which is hacked. However, we still have another LAN on the other side, and this LAN is called what, ya banat? Engineering LAN. And the IP address for this LAN is 192.168.100.0. Good. And as usual, all LANs in this network have the same subnet mask, which is 250. Now, this LAN has a switch, and this time I will take a switch, which is what? 2960. Good. I'll take 3 BCs. 1, 2, 3. Fine. Now, the IP addresses will be much the same like the previous LAN, but this LAN is what? 100. Yes or no? So here I need to just make sure my LAN is fine. Okay, one typing mistake. This is not configuration. So now I have this here. This PC is going to be 10. Do you understand, ya banat, what I'm going to do? This is 10. This is what? 11. And this is going to be what? 12. Good. And the switch is going to be 254. 254. Now we need to know this LAN will be connected to another port of the. So it's very important to pay attention to the port. I take the gigabit Ethernet here. Which port, ya banat? GI what? 10. So it's very important for me to know which port is connected to the LAN. GI 10. Of course, the IP addresses, I'll make them given 192.168.100.1. Good. Now I need to just do some cabling here. Connect to the PCs. Connect this to the PCs again, to the switch. And I need to configure the PCs and the switch and the router. So for this one, desktop, what's the IP address now? This one will be 10. And what's the subnet mask now? The default gateway of this network? All of them, all devices in the other LAN, what is the default gateway? 101. Yes or no? Good. And this one now, we will go here. This is going to be 11. And the default gateway 101. And this is going to be what? 12. And the default gateway is 101. So now, the devices here knows their default gateway. صح ولا لا? But still, we need to configure the port of what? Of the router. So here, which port I need to configure for? Okay, so I need to go to that interface. Interface GI10. Does that make sense? IP address, what is the IP address? 192.168 what 101 255 255 255 0. يا بنات, look when I type no shut, look at the router port. Do you see it has become green, صح ولا لا? And now the router is open too. Let me just take advantage of this. Let me configure the switches quickly. Enable conf t host name engineering switch, for example. Okay, yalla, line console 0, password Cisco, login, line VTY 0 to 15, password Cisco, login, exit, enable secret class service, password, encryption, interface VLAN 1, IP address 192.168.100.254 255 255 255 0, no shut, and end. Now I can say copy run what? Copy run start. Does that make sense, ya banat? Did I configure the switches now? Both switches, we configured them. ماشي الحال. Copy run start. So we have two switches configured. Everything is configured now. Now I'll ask very important question, which is why we did this. Now, can this PC communicate with this PC? You said yes. And I will say yes, but why yes? This PC is connected to the router. So the router knows the engineering LAN, yes or no? This PC is connected to the router. The router knows the business LAN, yes or no? So now, the router has a routing table. Do you want to see the routing table of the router? You can go to this magnifier and click on the router and see what. Now, this is a very, 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 very important step. This is why the router is going to work. What do you see here? What is C? What is C? Directly what? Connected. I know this network or these two networks because they are what? And network 10.0 is connected to which port? And network 1.0 is connected to which port? So if anyone asks me about network 10.0, I'll forward it through which port? GI00. If anyone asks me about network 100.0, I'll forward it to which port? That's it. I don't know anything else in the world. So this router, if you ask this router about anything else, it will drop the packet. It only knows two networks. Good. And now let us try to ping and see what happens. Here, I will go here quickly without doing visualization. Okay, simulation, sorry. I'll just go to this one. I'll ping 192.168, 110. You know what 110 is in the other one? Let us see. Is it going to work? Yes or no? Did it? Yes. 111. Is it going to work? It will, but you know why the first ping fails? Yes or no, ya banat? If you know why first ping fails, huh? Show none here. I'll just make ARB and ICMB. You know the tables of the switches need to be populated. Look at this, ya banat, now. I'll try to bring something from network business or engineering now. Look at this. I'll try to bring the business LAN. So bring 192.168.10.10. Look here now. Look at the protocols. You know ARB. You know, if anyone wants to communicate now, if PC12 wants to communicate, he needs to know the MAC address of the router port. Does that make sense? And the router sends its MAC address to the BC12. Here, BCBT. Now, BC12 can ping. It will ping. The destination IP address is this one. Now, once the router receives the ping packet, it will check the destination network. What's the destination network? 10.0. Yes or no? The router will check its routing table. Do I know this network? If yes, I will forward it from that network. Do you get this? See now, the router knows it. For the router, PC, this PC is directly connected, so it needs to communicate with it using what? Layer 2. So it did ARP and something, and now the business as usual. So look at the routing table of the router, ya banat. Here. How many networks? 2. طيب. Let me show you this and tell me, is it going to work? Yes or no? Ping 192.168.766.66. Is this going to work? Why no? There is only one answer. Why no? Yes, the router. Okay, who replied to this? The router said what? I don't know this network. I cannot do anything to help you. Let me show you this again here now with simulation. Look here. Who's going to reply? Look, once it reaches the router will check its MAC address table, its routing table, and it sends what? The red means what? It's not deliverable, and that's it. I cannot deliver it. Does that make sense? How to see the MAC address table of the router? This is the router, ya banat. Here, and show IP route. How to see the router table, routing table? What's the command? Okay, good. Now, what do you see now? Is this the same thing? What is it? It is like I only know 2 networks. 10.0. It's what? And it's connected to which port? I also know another network, which is also what? And it's what? That's it. I don't know anything else. Don't ask me about any other network because I'm going to drop the packet. Does that make sense? So now we're going to add a third network to our topology. And the third network is going to also be connected to the same router. Let's just do this quickly. Here is a switch. And here are 3 PCs. We'll do the same style of addressing. Okay, I'll connect. Now, the very most important point when you connect a switch to the router, you know to which port you connected it. So this is going to be 2.0 here in this example. So I always try to go do and GI 2.0. And now this network, let us call it Arts LAN. Here, Arts LAN. Let's give it the address 192.168.200.0. 255, 255, 255.0. We'll give the same addresses, ya banat, 192.168.210. Is this right? Yes or no? And this one will be 11. And this one will be what? 12. And for the switch, we will give it 254. And for this port, the default gateway will be 201. Good. So let us first connect and do configuration, and I need your attention now. I'm going here to connect the 1, 2, 3 straight cables, normal, switch to PC. And now I need to do some configuration here. Okay, desktop, tell me now. This is 10. What's the default gateway? 201. This is 11. The default gateway is also what? 201, but the PC address should be what? 11. And this is what here? For this one, the desktop is going to be 12. And the default gateway. Let me go to the router. Which port I need to configure on the router, ya banat? GI 20. Yes or no? So let us go here. Enable conf t interface GI 20. Make sure you are in the right port. And then IP address 192.168.201.255.255.0. no shut. The moment you do this, the port turns green, as you see here. Let me go and configure the switch quickly. Okay, enable conf t host name ايش سميناها arts sw line console 0 password Cisco login line vty015 password Cisco login exit enable secret class service password encryption interface VLAN 1 IP address 192.168.200.254. Is this correct? 255, 255, 255, 0, no shut, and copy, run, start. So now the switch is configured. So now, since we connected a third LAN, if you go to the router and just say, show IP route, how many entries you find in the router routing table? Do you see this, ya banat? How many? يعني now, if you send anything to any of these tables, is the router going to be able to deliver them? Why? Because the router knows about the 3 LANs. They are all C. You know what is C? If you don't know what's C, look here. C means what? Connected. Tamam. So now I'll try to ping from this PC. I'll ping any PC in the new LAN. So ping 192.168.210. Maybe first time it fails, but you know why it fails now? But it should work. I didn't see any problem. Did it work, Abanat? Let me try to ping 12. It works. I'll go from this LAN, the engineering LAN now. I'll try to ping anyone in the new LAN also. Ping 192.168.212. And is it working? I will try from inside the new LAN to ping anything outside. Ping 192.168, 110. Okay, good. I'll try to ping 1010, which is in the business LAN, and it's working. So do you see full connectivity, Abana? But still, the router is only aware about how many LANs? 3 LANs, because simply they are all what? Directly connected. We tested this LAN and it's working fine. 3 LANs are communicating properly, but we didn't test 2 things. One is, what if a PC is improperly configured with a wrong default gateway? Let's do this. So I'll go to this PC. Instead of what? 200.0, I'll make it 21.1. Which PC, Abna? This PC. This PC now, you need to know that it doesn't have the right default gateway. What happens if it tries to reach anything outside the LAN? Actually, it will use ARP broadcasts. But it needs the broadcast, the ARP broadcast, the MAC address of the wrong. It will request the MAC address of this one, yes or no? And no one is going to answer. And no one is going to reply. And the PC cannot reach outside. Let's do simulation here. What do we have here? ARP and what? ICMP. This is what we need. So I'll go to this PC here. I'll try to ping anything outside the LAN. See, it was working fine, yes or no? I'll repeat the same command now, but after I what? See the ARP now. There will be a broadcast. It will reach everyone. No one replies. Why? The IP address is not the default gateway address. And no one has this IP address in the LAN. And see, again, it will send ARP request. No one replies. So this device cannot communicate outside the LAN. Yes or no? Because tamam. Good. So now I'll fix it now here. I'll fix it, and it'll make it what? 201. Yes or no? Is it 201? Good. And now I'll repeat the same command. Yeah, let us reset everything here. I'll repeat the same command without changing anything. And see now, it will send a broadcast. The router port is going to reply, hey, the MAC address of the port of the default gateway is so and so. So see next, I received the MAC address of the port of the gateway. Now I can do ping. Do you see the ping now? Ping started. In the previous demo, there was no ping because they were waiting for the MAC address of the default gateway. Did you get this, ya banat? Tamam. Next situation. Tell me about switches. I configured all switches with IP addresses. But look here. If you try to ping a switch, I am here at which PC? In the business LAN. I'll try to ping the switch in the same LAN. Look, the switch of the business LAN is 254. Yes or no? Let us see. The PC 1010 is pinging the switch. It will work. It will what? It will. Did it work? Yes, it did. صح ولا لا? Right. However, if you try to ping the same switch, this one, from outside the LAN, is not going to work. Why? Because the switch itself, I'll ping the same switch from the Arts LAN, ping 192.168.10.254. This is not going to work. It will time out. Why? Tell me. Because the switch was not told about the default gateway. You cannot make any communications outside your LAN without knowing the default gateway. Not computers, not switches. Even if you have cameras, you have whatever device that uses the network needs to know the default gateway of the LAN. So request timeout. So now the question is, the $1 million question is what? How to tell the switch? So this is our switch, right? Here, system enable. As now I need to configure the switch. Simple command: IP default gateway. What's IP default gateway? What's the default gateway? The business LAN. 168.10.1. But now, I have configured the switch with what? With the default gateway. Look now. Look what's going to happen. ICMB. Now this router will send the AR broadcast. He needs to know the MAC address of the 254. The switch replies. Tamam. Now the switch needs to reply to the Arts LAN. If the reply is going outside, the switch needs to send it to the router. If the switch needs to send it to the router, the switch needs to know the IP address of the default gateway. So for switches, girls, how you get, I'll cancel it. That's it, worked, right? For switches, again, I'll do this again here. Tell me how to configure it. Enable. I am in the Arts LAN, ya banat. Tell me what to do. Confi, what? Yalla. IP what? 192.168.201. Do you all agree? 168.201. Tamam. That's it. Copy run start if you want. Okay. Mashi. Good. And now for the engineering LAN, I need to go to the switch here and tell the switch what? Tell the switch what? Enable conf, sorry, class here. Class. Okay. Conf IP what? Default gateway 192.168.100. صح? Good. Does that make sense, ya banat? Now you can do anything. Now let us just go to real time. شوفوا. From here, I try to ping all the other switches, the two switches. Okay, I'll ping 10. This is local in the same LAN. I am doing, okay, now this is what? 100, 254. It should work. Maybe it will fail first time because of the R broadcast. I think it will work now. If it doesn't work, there is a problem somewhere. Time. Okay, did it work now? I repeat it. Did it work? Tamam. And now we will see the third network. Now, all the switches, girls, all the switches can communicate with anyone outside the LAN. Yes or no? Why? Because we configured the switches with what? IP default gateway. So I showed you what happens if a device is misconfigured, and I showed you how to configure the switches with default gateway. It's time to add a new network, but this network is going to be a WAN. What do we mean by WAN? WAN will be what? Directly connected, but not through the same router. It will be connected using WAN. Let me just move some space from here. See, girls, I need to create a new router. And look at the routers. If you see, look at this router. I believe I explained this in the beginning. You can tell which ports you have, which ports you don't have, right? And here, look at it here. Okay, we don't have enough ports maybe. I will take an empty router to make your life easier. What is empty router usually? A router with no ports or a switch with no ports. Look at this. Do you have any ports here? Do you have any ports? Okay, good. Now I will be connected the routers to each other. Usually, what type of cabling we use in this case, girls? Serial cable, right? We don't use what? Fiber or what? Or UTB cables. Type, wait, this is serial cable. I'll take one here. What is the problem? I need to do what? Switch off. I'll take serial, two cables. Does that make sense? I just need to. I'll take two fiber. How many? Two. I need to take 2 copper gigabit Ethernet. This is what I want, for example. And now I what? I turn. After you always finish this, go ahead and see what is the ports. Port status. Look at them, ya banat. Serial what? 2 serial ports. 2 fiber. I know these are fiber, right? And this is 2 copper gigabit Ethernet. Does that look at the names? Do you understand? If you don't know their types quickly, you can just go here and zoom. Is it clear what you have with this one? Good. Let me just make sure I delete this router. Yes. Now, I need to connect this router to the old router or to the main router using a serial cable, but we have another problem. What is it? The main router does not have a serial port. صح ولا لا? Yes or no? Does it have? Does it? Do you see a serial port here? All of them are copper gigabit Ethernet. Yes or no? So I need to switch it off and add 1 or 2 serial ports. Does that make sense? Now I have the right ports. Now I can use the cabling. Good. Look, girls, which one is serial port? This one. Do you get it? Okay. Here, which port is serial? 4. And you know why it starts from 4. And here what? Serial what? Wait. The first step, you need to know that this is serial 40 on this side. And here what? Serial 00. So I know what is the. Okay, good. Now let me just tell you WAN network addresses will be what? 10, 10, 10, 0. So we only need 2 addresses in the WAN. And I need to give these addresses to the port. So for the main router, I need to give which port and a WAN address? Serial 40. So I'll go to the router, CLI, no, enable, conft, and now what to say? Interface serial 20. Does that make sense? What's the IP address? Oh, we don't have. Actually, it's 40, right? Serial what? 40. Now it's working. IP address. What's the IP address we said? 10, 10, 10, 1, 255, 255, 255, 0, no shut. Does that make sense? خلاص بس. Now I go to this router. CLI. Would you like to configure? Nothing now. Enable. Conf T. Which port يا بنات on the router? Serial 00, right? Interface serial 00. IP address what? 10, 10, 10, 2. 255, 255, 255, 0. No shut. Does that make sense? Do you see the connection? By the way, WAN is a network. صحيح, we only have 2 addresses in it, but it's what? Our network. Why I'm saying this? For this router, ya banat, what's the routing table of this router? Let me call it bank router. What's the routing table of bank router? Only one network, which is what? The WAN. Look at it. Look at it. Is it the WAN? C1010 serial 00. That's it. What about the older router here? Oh, okay. طبعا now why you don't see this? Because some ports are still off. Did I reset it? أنا صح, when I added serial ports, did I turn it off? Did you get this? تمام. So يعني you saw this. تمام. So now let us make sure that the ports are not off. So because if the port off, the LAN is not going to work. تمام. Let me just make sure. Do I need to do anything? Because last time I said no shut, but I'm not sure I saved or. Okay. I will go to the ports here. Interface GI00. No shut. Look, ya banat. Look, the moment I type no shut, what happened? Do you see this one? What is the second one? Interface GI what? 10. No shut. No need to give it. I already gave everything before. So do you get this now? And interface GI20, right? No what? No shut. Let me just make some other things. Host name, main router. Does that make sense? Okay. End, copy, run what? Start. Does that make sense now? Now, okay. Now if I go to this router, ya banat, do you expect to see how many networks now? Wait, it will take time. It will is a WAN, and the WAN is part of the networks for both routers. Now, the second router needs some kind of special equipment. We need a switch, but most of the cables in the second router switch are going to be fiber. Not all of them. So in case you need a switch, you configure, you take which switch, girls? You take what? Empty switch, Quickly, I'll just give anything, Zoom in. Do you see it's empty? Yes or no? I'll take one copper gigabit Ethernet, another copper gigabit Ethernet, 2 fibers, 2 fiber. So I have 2 copper, 2 fiber. The first are copper, the second are what? So all of them are gigabit Ethernet, but the first 2 are copper, the last 2 are fiber. Now I need to connect one server here and one PC. Okay, and the new network is going to be called bank LAN, and the bank LAN is going to be 199.99.99.0. Does that make sense? And the same subnet mask as all other networks. So for this piece, web server, I'll make it 199.99.99.100. And for this PC, I'll give it 199.99.99.10. Does that make sense? And now the switch will be 199.99.99.254. And now we need to know, I need to connect the switch to the router, but I will use fiber. So which one is fiber on the router? Here. If I close this, I'll take which cable, ya banat? Fiber from here. I'll take, okay, which one is fiber? 20 and 30, right? 20 to 21. So the most important thing for me is what here? GI20, right? And what's the address of that? 199.99.1. Do you all agree? Does that make sense? Yalla, cabling the, okay, cabling the, oh, yeah, there is one more thing. The server, look at the server, ya banat. They needed to use a fiber network interface card. Now it has one copper. Can we add a fiber? Why? Because there is an empty slot. If there is no empty slot, I need to remove this and put what? Do you get this? If there is no empty slot, I need to remove it. If I need to keep both, tamam, keep both. Good. So now I did this. Now I added a fiber port to the server. Now the server here, which port I select? The fiber, which is the first one. To which port here? And now for the PC here, I'll just use any fast Ethernet to any gigabit Ethernet. Does that make sense? Yalla, configuration. I need to configure the router GI20. Do you agree يا بنات؟ يلا, what is the, okay, بسرعة here. Enable conf t host name bank router. Do you get this? Okay, يلا, what else? Enable secret class. تمام؟ شو بده؟ Enable secret class. Okay. Interface GI ايش كان? You need to know the port number, huh? GI20. Yes or no? Okay. IP address 199.99.99.1 255 255 255 0 and no shut. Good. Did we do this يا بنات? Exit. Let me just add some more configure line console 0 and all these things. تمام. I'll be doing them quickly, huh? تمام. Line VTY 015 password. See now, this is a typing error, but we need to repeat it again to make the password correct. تمام. Login, exit, service what? Password encryption. Okay, end, copy, run, start. تمام. At least we don't get problems like last time. Now I'm done with the router يا بنات. But I forgot something. Did I say no shot? Oh, okay, here. Did I say no shot? I still see it red. GI20. Interface, GI physical, GI. Well, I'm not sure, huh? GI2. I still see it what? Red, صح? Serial interface GI. Yeah, بنات. I'll just make sure I connected it to the right port, huh? Here, which one? GI20 to which one? To GI21, صح? And let me make sure 20 it's on. تمام. Good. So here, okay. Oh, the switch is off. Did you get this? Now the switch is what? On. Good. Yalla, to the PC, to the server. Desktop, what? Yalla. 199, 99, 99, 100. Yes or no? على فكرة ما رضيها. 199, 99, 99, 100. شوفوا إذا ما رضيها. Okay. What's the default gateway? 199, 99, 99, 1. Yes or no? The default gateway, yes, because you're connecting it. Yalla, for this PC, quickly. Desktop, what here? 199, 99, 99, 10. 199, 99, 99, 1. Does that make sense? And now we go to the switch. We need to configure the switch, everything in the switch, including what? The default gateway. Do you remember? Yalla, here. Okay, CLI. What to do now? Enable. Okay, conf t host name bank switch. Yalla, interface VLAN 1. What? IP address. What? 199.99.99 254 255 255 255 0. No shut. Yalla, what's the very important command we just learned today? IB what? Default gateway. Yes or no? We need to tell the switch what's the default gateway of your LAN. Is it correct this way? Yalla, enable secret, for example, class. Does that make sense? Yalla, line console 0, password, whatever. Good. What now? Copy what? Good. So what happened now? We configured all of them. However, if we try to communicate from this server or the PC, let me rename this PC. I'll call it bank PC. If we try to communicate bank PC with the engineering LAN, it's not going to work. So now we will find out that engineering, business, and arts LAN cannot communicate with the bank LAN because the routing tables do not know anything about the destination. Look here, we have only 4 LANs, all are directly connected, and for the bank router, we have 2 LANs, they are all directly connected. So we decided after discussion to use what? Static routing. What is static routing? Manually tell the router where to forward the packet to reach to the destination. So now we will configure this router and tell this router, if anyone asks you about the bank LAN, send it to who? To this port, to serial 00 of bank router. Good. We will give it the IP address. Enable consti. Yalla. What? IB route. Bas hai here. IB route means I am adding a route manually. If anyone wants to go to 199.99.0.255.255.255.0, yalla, one thing is missing. I am telling which router, ya banat? Main router. About which network? Where to forward the packets? If someone send it to him, send it to the bank router. صح ولا لا? What is the bank router? 10.10.10.2. Yes or no? بس خلاص. Now, the bank router, look here, بسرعة. Look here. What do you see? Do you see a new route? And what do you see here? What's this letter, ya banat? S means what? Static means what? Manual. So now, by the way, now you can ping, but this is going to be one-way ping. You know what do we mean by one-way ping? Because this router does not know anything about what? The main router. So can we do this here again in the main router? Yes or no? So I'll go here and exit IP route. Good. 192.168.10.0.255.255.255.0. Send it to who? To the main router. Does that make sense? Look, ya banat, now on the bank router, what do you have? What's this? What to do if someone wants to go to the, what is 10 here? Business LAN, right? Okay. So now, what about this router? Show IP route will tell us what? Good. What to do if something wants to go to the, so I'll go from the business LAN. Where is the business LAN? Here. I'll try to ping the server. Look at it. 199.99.99.100. Is this the server, Yabana? So it should work, by the way. Maybe first time it fails, but it should work. Why it should work? Because this router knows the destination, and in the reply, the bank router knows the destination. Yes or no? Did it work now? Did it work now? So I'll go to simulation, but quickly I'll try to do it here. Simulation. I will do it quickly here. Repeat the same command. I want you to see this. Run. Look at it, Okay. Now the main router checks its routing table. Do I know the destination network? Yes. Where to forward the packet? 10.10.10.2. This one now receives it. The server replies. The bank router checks. Do I know the destination network? Yes, it's a static one. Do I need to, where I need to send it to? To the main router. Does that make sense? Of course, we only added one network to the bank router. Did we add business or engineering and arts? We can do it manually. Tamam? Yani still we did not configure the router this router, see, I can repeat the command, ya banat. Huh? Look, if someone asks you about 100.0, 255, 255, 255.0, again send it to 10, 10, 10 what? 1. Now, how many static routes in the bank router? Each LAN is a network. Huh? Third one, what is it? The 200, yeah? Is it? 200.0, 255, 255, 255.0, 10, 10, 10, 10, 1. Now, if you go here, okay, see, and show IP route, which is routing table. Look at the routing table of the bank router. What is it? How many networks the router do? 1, 2, 3, 5. 1, 2, 3, 5. 3 of them are what? And 2 of them are what? If you ask him about anyone, he can forward. Any other network? No. Tamam. Any other network? No. Now I'll just do one final ping from here. I will ping the server of the bank. I am from inside which LAN now? Arts LAN. Yes or no? It will take time, but it should work because all the ports are configured. Did it work, Evan? I'll do the opposite. I'll go from the bank LAN itself and try to ping 192.168, 110. Now all the tables, all routing tables are validated and working fine. It should be working fine. Does that make sense? Do you see this? Good.